We have some very exciting news to announce. We are on the eve of our U.S. EU summit, which will take place in Lisbon on November 20th. And it's exciting in many ways. One, this will be the first time that the President of the United States will have an opportunity to sit down with the leaders of the EU after the implementation of the Lisbon summit, Lisbon Treaty. Ironically, it's happening in Lisbon, which was sort of coincidental. But there's a very important agenda. First and foremost, we'll be talking about the economy and jobs. There'll also be discussion about some of the global challenges that we all face, primarily climate change and our efforts to invest in development around the world. And then, of course, everyone is aware that there have been some very scary, frankly, terrorist threats in Europe in particular recently. And so this is an opportunity for our leaders to sit down and share information and sort of reaffirm our commitment to work together to fight terrorism around the world. So it's an important time for our leaders to come together, and I expect that there'll be some really good news that comes out of this summit. So some of the things in particular that we'll talk about: some new technology areas, for example, where it's important for the U.S. and the EU to develop in, for example, the renewable energy area. These are new and exciting areas, and it's important for us to talk on the front end before we start going off in different directions. This is an opportunity for us to come together on standards, share best practices, and really link arms in our commitment to invest in future industries that will drive our economies going forward. Climate change is an important topic. Obviously, we're coming up on another important meeting of the World Economies Forum, which deals with climate change. It's important that the U.S. and Europe be coordinated and working together as we go into that important meeting. There's a lot going on in the climate change agenda in the U.S. You know, a lot of times people just think it's all about legislation. It's really not. President Obama has moved aggressively on the regulatory front. He's invested a huge amount of money in renewable energy technologies, almost $90 billion in the stimulus legislation that was passed earlier in the year. So there's a lot happening there. It's a good story. The economy is so important now. You know, we've survived the most devastating recession of our lifetimes, the worst since in the post-war period, and the recovery is fragile. The important thing about the U.S. EU relationship is that it represents not only a partnership on foreign policy issues, but on economic issues. We have the largest trading relationship in the world. Over $4 trillion of trade and investment between the U.S. and the EU. It dwarfs any other trading relationship in the world. And so there's a lot that we can and should do together to make sure that our economies are going to recover from this financial crisis. On development, I would elaborate a bit to say that this is a particularly important time, not only because the U.S. and the EU represent 80% of development dollars that are spent around the world, but because here again, it's important that we be coordinated. All of our public budgets are under pressure. Development dollars are going to be harder to appropriate, and so it's important that we use those dollars efficiently, and coordination is the way to do that.